Hello, I am Elsa, and we are here in Riga International Film Festival short film program, Short Riga International Competition Q&A. And today we are joined by two directors of the third screening. And I would like to start with questions to Laura and about her film Displaced. So could you please shortly introduce yourself and the film?
Hello, I am Laura. I am a film animator, and the film Displaced was made in Estonian Academy of Arts. This film is a dance film about forced displays, and is made in collaboration with Estonia and Colombia.
Okay, thank you. As for both the synopsis and throughout the film, it was quite featured heavily the part of the character dancing, and it seemed very interesting to me, the combination of two art forms, dance and film. So could you please elaborate on why did you decide to combine these two?
Yeah, of course, in the beginning, I didn't thought it like intentionally, but for me, there was like one rule in the school that it was about making a silent film. And for me, the easiest way to make it silent, it was dancing. I also think that film is especially animation is very like multidisciplinary platform. So for me, animation is also like the best way to combine different media. You can have a lot of like painting and also like experiment, and I feel very close to the dance language, into the corporal media. So I dance myself too. So for me, this is like a very familiar topic. And I wanted to experiment with this, with how could you say things through the body and not having so many backgrounds. So that's why you don't see anything. I focus on the expression of the line, and with the line and with the movement of the body, I have to say everything.
Yeah, and you already mentioned that there is no dialogue in this film. And I would firstly like to really compliment the sound effects and the sound department, because it really adds a lot to the film as there is no dialogue. And I wanted to ask from your perspective as the director, so how much sort of freedom or control did you have over the sound, or was it based on complete trust in people creating it in accordance to your story?
Yeah, actually, in this film, I feel the sound is more than the half. I mean, like it's very like strong. I first did the film. I draw it. It's draw on paper, and then I started with composing the music. So I always work like I make let's say musical sketch or something like that, and then what is made first is the music, because it's the strongest part and more emotional strong part of the film. So I start with the music, and I think the most interesting always with music for me as a director is to put two people together to share and to collaborate and to create something that they will have never ever create. So it's for me also the role of the director is about experimenting and making close things that maybe are far away. So this was a big part of it. It was made, the reference, it was made on total trust. I just give the film, and I have a friend which I trust very much. So I have to trust before in the person. So I like, yeah, I give you all my film, do something beautiful. But also, it was there was like a very important indication for the sound designer, and it was to build the sound based on abstract stuff. So if you see in the film, the sound doesn't, it's not like so literal. It's also made in a, like, let's say, metaphoric way. So this was also like very important for the development of the sound.
Okay, thanks. And moving on more towards this metaphorical and symbolism direction. So I wanted to ask you maybe if you could help us interpret some of the symbols that we saw in the film, such as the hands that were not connected to bodies, or the solid color figures that weren't fully animated with like expressions and things like that. Please.
Of course. Well, in my view, of course, it's open now, but in my view, these are like the way I found to represent different ways to represent the power. So basically, that it's about that power.
And so was also the dance, as we talked before, in a sense of a way of taking the power back.
Well, actually, yeah, you are right.
So yeah, dancing as a way of taking back the power and control of one's own life. But we do, in the end, the main character is not dancing anymore. So why, in a sense, end on such hopeless note? I suppose that's what I would like to know.
Yeah, actually, yeah, your question makes me think about, I before I thought it's just about the power of these figures that you mentioned, and the hands over her, let's say over her body, to be more precise. But yeah, now you make me think that, of course, it's just also the facing of two powers. You know, the power of her, and let's say of her. Past, or of her body, or on the, let's say, the travel that she makes. It's like a power, and then of course it's like the facing of these two powers. Now you made me think about that, but I never thought about it as you say. So it's beautiful because, of course, when you made a film, it's open, and I really like to hear your view. I never thought about it. But you told me.
Thank you. I would also like to ask a question more about the whole process, because last year this film was featured in short Riga test screenings. And can you tell us more about what has changed within this year of participating in the test screenings and now being featured in short Riga international competition? So how was the time between these two and returning to Riga International Film Festival once again?
Well, yeah, it was part of the screening test. Actually, when it was part, the film was almost made, but that time I was very, let's say, unsure, or I was not sure about my film, so I was a bit insecure, let's say. So it was good. It was like a good years, like going out of the film, say, like showing it by the first time and seeing the impressions that it could have on people. So in this sense, yeah, the screening test is always like a crucial part of the film. I wish it was made like before for my film, or I wish there was more spaces like this for works in progress. Because you know, in animation is like a very long process. This film was made like in more or less like 2 years. It doesn't seem like, but it took because it's like grow frame by frame. But yeah, it was very important for getting the first impressions and to see like, yeah, I have a film, maybe maybe it's a film. So I think there is when a film maybe becomes a film, you know, when you screen it. And you don't know if you have a film until you screen it, maybe.
Oh, thank you. I would like now to move over to Niklas and your film Widow and Orphan. So same as before, please introduce yourself and your film shortly.
Hi, my name is Niklas. I'm writer and director of Widow and Orphan. I'm from Germany, but studying in Vienna at the Film Academy Wien in Austria. And the film's title is Widow and Orphan, and it's about two different kinds of loneliness, actually, two people that are meeting in a special way.
Okay. Yeah, as you already started about lonely people coming and meeting together, I wanted to ask you, how do you yourself feel about these sort of meetings when you come across a person or a work of art that has a huge impact later on your life or strongly resonates with your current situation? And don't you oftentimes have a feeling that you could have easily missed this poem or this artwork or this person?
Well, I think it's very hypothetical to think about what you miss right now doing this or that. I think it's more reasonable, at least for me, to think about what I meet, what I see in my life, and what kind of inspiration I get from that. Yeah, and I feel often about actually thinking about these fate things, you know, like meeting this person, meeting that person, and yeah, very often it's like that you see a little bit how to say, like chance thing behind it, that you think like, oh, if I wouldn't have gone on this day to the cinema, I wouldn't have met this person or so. I I think a lot about this kind of stuff. It's probably also inspire my work.
Okay. So both the film synopsis states that this is a cinematic poem, and as well the storyline is very much led through finding and reading a certain poem. So I would, could you please elaborate on how why poetry is so prominent in your work?
I don't know. I mean, I like poetry, and I mean, I can tell for this film that I had the idea actually of writing a poem, or like finding a poem, I don't know, that is sounding very, very rich, very sounding strongly, that people who not even would understand the language still would kind of feel it. So that's the way I wrote it, in the way I wrote it. it has very strong rhymes and such, and this is something that interestingly maybe I kind of find in rap music. And it's probably also my my first touch that I got to poetry. So, but it has nothing to do with the film rap music. But you know, it's maybe a fun fact.
Yeah, you already started to touch upon the subject of languages, and I would like to preface this next question with a quote from the film that one of the characters says that he likes the idea that somewhere there is someone who speaks their language. And I would like to ask you, what are your beliefs on this metaphorical division on languages? Like, does everyone have their own language, or do some people speak in the same language, or should we just focus on the literal sense of languages and not really think of it in terms of individualism?
Yeah, I mean, of course, in this aspect, language is meant in a very wide sense, that it means like how to think also, in a very individual sense. But in this line of the film, he's obviously not talking only about the literal language, also about the language of his feelings, maybe the way he wanted to be treated by people. But of course, language as such has also a little bit this element that you sometimes feel when you talk to people in your language, in your like mother tongue, that this person can understand very slight things that you would never be able to translate. And of course, this love to language also in this literal sense is also part of the film. And I'm someone who can only write in German because this is my mother tongue, and I would always feel imposterous to write something in English, especially poetry. And yeah, I don't know. It's, so I can give you these two answers to the question, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It did also, the film did make me think more about also the fact that in this Q&A, we are using not only like a language in a sense that we all speak like lingua franca. We use English as a language that we all understand, and it's neither of our mother tongues as well. But moving on to a little bit more the process of filming. What I found really interesting was that the film was in a sense a collaboration between like Austria and Germany, and it was filmed in the UK, as I understand. Yeah. So how was that as well, working with like more of an international environment and crew?
It was crazy, and it was hard. But you know, the thing is that I'm studying screenwriting, and I'm directing module student, so I can only actually make one short film on my school. And so I put everything a little bit on one card of a film that is, you know, trying things. And I knew that I had this idea of a film that plays in a city abroad, in a huge metropolis abroad, and it was very clear that it must be London. It was also in the screenplay already London. And then I'm German, studying in Austria, so you already have this connection. But then we also collaborated with the Film Academy Baden-Württemberg in Germany. So my second cinematographer comes from the school. And yeah, and then we jumped with 10 people into this foreign land that was almost leaving the European Union at the time. So it was very adventurous, and I was actually never really before in London. So I came there for 2 location scoutings, and then we shot, and it was everything a very spontaneous process. And we knew we had this idea, this screenplay, and this formalism, but we also were finding very new things that we put spontaneously into the film. So that was cool. And actually I want to always work like that in the future, that you have a fundament, a good idea, a point, idea of form, but you leave like little spaces to fill at the location, at the casting process and whatsoever. I think this is a very refreshing way to make films, and it's fun.
And as the film is told through 2 points of view, you were also working with 2 cinematographers and 2 editors.
Yes.
So firstly, how did you come across this idea representing these 2 points of view differently? And secondly, how did that affect the filmmaking process?
Well, the idea with the cinematographers was something that came to me at night and kept me awake. And it was actually very hard to make this possible, because then it was also part of bringing these film schools together, and it was very bureaucratic and hectic. But I knew I wanted to do this because this was my idea to make 2 different spheres, and to give both a different way of a different image, visual, audiovisual like. And then the same thing with the editors was then like that due to Corona, it was hard to find an editor. And then it came to my mind that it was actually, I could do the same with the editors. And it was also very beautiful in the end that they had, in fact, different styles of working. And it was very nice. And actually, it's also something that I would like to keep for later films. To work with different mosaics of film languages and so, with different personnel. I don't know. I think it's not so used so often. I think Ulrich Seidel did that already in Import Export, but besides that, nothing comes to my mind. And I don't know, I like it, but I also like formalism in a way. So you can insult me as a formalist, but I don't know, it keeps my inspiration going.
So hello, Camille and Antoine or Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony. Hello.
Anthony, sorry. Hello. My first question is about your use of close-ups. Because I feel that they evoke vulnerability and intimacy of the experiences lived by Julien. Can you please comment on the use of close-ups in your film?
Moi, j'ai pas tout compris.
Comment le fait que tu as utilisé des close-ups pour évoquer certaines choses dans la vie de Julien?
Oui, tu peux expliquer que j'avais décidé que j'avais écrit un film où j'avais pas envie de travailler sur une narration classique, mais que j'avais vraiment envie de rentrer dans un point de vue, à l'intérieur d'un point de vue. Tu vois ce que je te disais tout à l'heure.
Yeah, so it was made because she doesn't want to have a classic narrative movie, and more to get in emotional states of Julien, and so going to search some things on which he blocked or he liked to stare at some things, and to focus on those things more than to speak about his life. But it's a way to speak about his life, to just focus on what he's looking.
C'était traduire un état, essayer de traduire un état, et donc de rentrer à l'intérieur du malaise du personnage, et donc faire des zooms sur les endroits où ce qui me semblait être le plus juste par rapport à son état.
Yeah, what translates the most his emotional states is what he's looking at, and to be in relation between his emotional states and what's the outside world talked about him.
Je peux aussi demander en français. Comment vous avez créé le personnage de Julien? How did you go about creating and writing the personnage of Julien?
J'avais envie de travailler sur l'absence de sens en général. Et donc, je n'avais pas envie de travailler sur un personnage qui est potentiellement... j'avais envie de travailler sur un personnage qui a tout pour être heureux, qui a... Je ne sais pas si tu veux déjà traduire.
You want me to
He has everything to be to feel happy about.
Yeah, so she wanted to work about the absence of meaning in the world for the characters, which is the life of Julien, but characters that doesn't. He has everything to be happy, but he doesn't find any meaning of his life. And he's not in a precarious situation. He has a job, he has friends, he has a family, but anyway, he's blocked in a situation where he doesn't find any meaning.
Ouais, pour ça, je trouvais aussi que c'est facile à identifier à Julien, parce qu'il a, comme vous avez dit, qu'il a une vie sociale, un boulot et tout ça, mais quand même maintenant il se trouve dans un poids de sa vie où il se sent seul et perdu un peu. What I was saying is that it was what all of us were discussing, was that the main character, he apparently has all, but still now it's relatable, because even though there's nothing really for him to be sad about, he still is in a point of his life where he is confused and lost.
Elle vient de redire ce que j'ai dit. En fait, ce qui m'intéressait aussi, c'était de travailler sur un film qui peut être, d'une part, 3 minutes d'une vie, quand on est dans un état comme ça, qui peut aussi être 2 ans d'une vie, mais qui peut aussi être toute une vie, en fait. Un état où tout le monde a déjà traversé de non-sens et d'absence de sens dans sa vie. Que ce soit une petite partie ou toute sa vie, en fait. Et voilà.
Yeah, in the same time, the movie can be about like 3 minutes in the life of someone, or 2 months, or 3 years, a whole life, because it's some way an emotional state that everyone has already lived, because no matter of the time, we all get through that kind of emotional states once in a lifetime.
Maybe even more sometimes.
Maybe even more.
On daily level. And what persuaded you to choose this actor Renan for the leading man?
How did we get the...
Yeah, what persuaded you about this actor for him to be casted as the protagonist?
Qu'est-ce qui t'a persuadé de choisir Renan comme...
il n'est pas comédien, il est menuisier. C'est un grand ami à moi qui s'est posé beaucoup de questions dans sa vie aussi à ce sujet-là, enfin qui a beaucoup erré, et j'aimais bien, je trouvais que son âme correspondait, et puis c'est un très bon acteur aussi, et moi j'aime bien travailler en famille avec que des gens que j'aime, et voilà.
So yeah, he's not comedian. He's more into wood stuff and so. So it was more about working in a family group, and his soul just fit really well with the emotional states of the main character Julien, and himself in his life. Beside the movie, he he lived some parallels of what the movie is about.
Et je l'ai cherché longtemps quand même.
Yeah, and it was a hard research because she saw a lot of guys to be him, and finally he was just a Silas.
Yeah. And were also the other people involved in the making of this film were beside you, like I don't know, the DOP, l'équipe de film, est-ce que vous connaissez avant tous ces gens-là aussi?
Ouais, est-ce que toutes les personnes qui ont participé au film, est-ce que c'était des gens proches?
Oui, en fait, j'ai fait un premier film avant avec pas d'argent du tout, mais que des amis proches, parce que j'avais déjà fait beaucoup de tournages en tant que comédienne. Et du coup, c'est vraiment tous mes amis, la même équipe. C'est tous mes amis. Mes frères, mes deux sœurs jouent dedans. Anthony joue dedans, c'est mon amoureux. Il n'est pas comédien non plus, mais c'est tous mes amis, ouais, c'est toute ma famille.
Yeah, she had done a first movie called Ritournelle, and she has a lot of experience in movies, but more as a comedian. And for the first movie, which was made with no money at all, there was already that kind of family team for the movie. So the characters and also the DOP and so was friends of us. And it was the same for this movie here, also friends and family members and so the main thing is in the movie the scene where they are at the table and there is a lot of discussion. It was all friends, like we had a lot of dinner of that kind, and it was all people that we know.
Also, you know, I guess. And I would like to touch upon you choosing a character that is still rather rare to see, which is a man who is depressed and vulnerable. Why did you depict this character? I mean, sorry, I will rephrase it. So the cinema nowadays, for a long time, it has been saturated with male protagonists, and it's also mostly male-made. Now it's changing, of course, but still, even though we have seen so many males as the main characters, it's still rare to see a male that's fragile. Why did you choose to talk about it? A man who is vulnerable.
Pourquoi est-ce que tu as choisi de parler de quelqu'un qui est fragile alors que la norme jusque maintenant était plutôt de montrer des mâles à la télé qui étaient des gens puissants et forts, qui n'avaient pas vraiment de travers?
Alors, il y a deux choses. D'une part, parce que l'histoire est très personnelle. Voilà, donc c'était une histoire que j'avais envie de raconter. D'autre part, parce que ça m'intéressait aussi de montrer des hommes de mon âge, à mon époque, fragiles et complètement perdus par rapport aussi à leur statut d'homme. Voilà, et ça, c'est lié à mon expérience personnelle aussi, de ce que j'ai pu observer. Tu peux déjà traduire ça, puis
In a way, it's because it's a real personal experiment about men's having those problems around her. So it was that fact that stimulated the story.
Ouais.
Et il a d'autres raisons.
Oui, non, et après, je trouve que, bon, il sait que c'est un homme, mais je trouve que cet état-là de dépression ou de perte de sens, en tout cas dans mon entourage, dans ma ville, les gens que je fréquente, il y en a partout, tout le temps, en fait. Donc, c'était quelque chose que j'avais envie de transmettre d'une manière onirique, mais que j'avais envie de transmettre.
Yeah, she said that it's a common feelings around her, whether it can be a woman or a man, but it's like a common thing. And the fact is, there she read it with a man, but it could have been a woman, but it's more linked with her personal experience of that feeling.
All right, thank you.
We are really glad to showcase your films in Riga Short this year and hopefully see you in future festivals.
Thank you too.